Greetings, creeps, and welcome to Convo Fango. Today, we are joined by the Scare Package 2 team. We've got Aaron B. Koontz, Alexandra Barreto, Anthony Cousins, Jed Shepard, and Rachele Wiggins. Yay!
Yay.
Thank you guys for coming to hang out with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here.
Yeah.
Scare Package, we're back for more. We've got more Rad Chad, which who doesn't love that? I remember Scare Package when it premiered on Joe Bob. I just remember being like, this is one of my favorite fucking movies of the year. So I was really excited to hear that we were back for a second installment, and it definitely delivered. I'm not a math whiz, but I think we've got probably like 99% more vomit in this installment, give or take. No,
That was the directive. Yeah, that was a goal.
the whole pitch deck was just that. It was 99% more vomit in part 2. That's it.
Yeah. Can I make Kelly Maroney vomit acid on someone? Yes, that's a goal. So yeah.
And we do get that. So I mean, if you would have come to me with that and I was the person in charge, I'd say absolutely yes, we're doing it.
There we go.
So we start this off with a very like Randy and Scream 3 vibe, but then we very quickly go into Saw territory. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the package, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think when Cameron and I were writing this, we were watching a lot of the Saw movies, obviously, because Spiral was coming out. And we were trying to think of, the original title of this was Tropes in the first film. And so we're still talking about subverting horror tropes. And we're talking about the 90s and 2000s horror, and the Saw franchise is such a big part of that. And when the idea kind of came with us was kind of in the Saw sequels that got so absurd and, in a lovingly way, they go kind of off the rails, and there's a point at the end of Scare Package 2 where there's a character who's like, do you know what's going on? And that was me watching people show back up in the Saw universe like years later that I'm like, what is happening right now? And I was like, well, these are the tropes to subvert, right? Like this is the horror sequel. This is where we need to focus on. And then we were kind of off and running and had this, escape. We were doing escape rooms too a lot. And that was something I enjoyed with my friends. So like that combination just seemed to make a lot of sense. And we were off and running.
I loved that line of, do you know what's going on? Because that was like extremely, I love the Saw movies, but that was like so Saw. As like the music's getting more and more intense, and it's like reveal after reveal after reveal, but it's like in an onion and a sandwich, and you're like, I don't really know you kind of lost me like back at like the third layer. I was there, and then once we got to the fifth layer, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And it's like montage, flashback. So yeah, I love that it just like goes over the top with that.
And random people show up for no reason. There's like a person who like asked a question in like the third Saw movie, and then she shows up in like Saw 6. It's like, wait, what? Like you're a key part of this? You were I don't know. Yeah.
That's the guy who's ordering a coffee behind me 3 sequels ago. Like, yeah, it gets very much like that.
Completely.
And then you notice in the flashback, he did like a weird eyebrow thing. You're like, yes, that was the tell.
Yeah, that was all we had to go on. We had to retcon all this. We had that moment to build off of. Yeah.
Amazing. One more thing I have to mention, because I was like, is this really happening right now? You used the theme song from Miami Connection.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, we had the money to do basically 1 or 2 needle drops, and we just wanted something, Sam, I feel like as a character is so kind of misunderstood, and just kind of him and Chad kind of both want friends, but don't really know how to make them, in a proper world, which I think a lot of horror fans and horror creators are in that same situation. I'm only speaking for myself, not my colleagues here. But so I think what song, Friends Forever just kind of made sense. And Alex Uding, my our editor and a fellow producer, he was kind of pushing for it. So those were the 2 songs we went for, that and then the Rad, the song from the actual movie Rad, which made sense to use for Rad Chad's song.
Naturally.
So those were our 2 big needle drops. But yeah, it was a blast to get that.
If you've only got 2 needle drops to go with, you chose very wisely. Those are like some solid needle drops.
Yeah, I mean, I had to pay for them myself, but yeah.
Worth it though. I mean, look, I'm gonna just let you know it was worth it if that counts for anything.
Cool. Good to know.
This is also how I make friends. I'm like, I'm just gonna trap you all in this room and welcome to my birthday party. All right. Alex, do you want to tell us about your segment?
Sure. Welcome to the 90s. Basically, Aaron kind of gave me a prompt. He had watched a short film that I had written called Lady Hater. which was not about hating women. Well, it was kind of about hating women, but not for real. Don't worry, I do not hate women. But basically it was like, take those like feminist ideas and throw them into a horror comedy, and add some tropes in there. So that was pretty much the oh, he did mention Final Girls as well. And so I have trouble answering this question because I honestly cannot remember where the idea came from. I believe it was like 4 a.m. and I woke up and I just wrote down party, New Year's, sorority, what? Like, and and somehow I came up with the idea of throwing a New Year's party and watching the Final Girls transform, from the 70s, 80s Final Girls into the 90s, and that was born somehow at 4 a.m.
I'm glad that you were able to decipher your like 4 a.m. Alex message to future
I could
Alexandra.
show you. It is ridiculous. There are some other weird notes in there as well.
That's like the one thing I'm like, when I die, I need like my best friend cousin to just get my notes app and just delete it, because people are like, what was this girl on? Like, I don't understand. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a really fun one. And also I love like the Final Girls and the Sure to Die Girls. Also, that sounds like a Scooby-Doo band or something.
Exactly.
Like,
there's some Scooby-Doo references in here. The heads popping out and
there's a lot of references in here, and I love it. I mean, the whole scare package is tropes and references. It just like rolled into each other, and that's what makes it so fun for horror nerds. So, Anthony, do you want to tell us about your segment?
Yeah, so we did a sequel to our segment from the first scare package, which went through many different possibilities. We talked about doing a part 3 and doing a prequel actually instead, and then just felt like it made more sense to go forward and like see what happened to Daisy after finally killing the killer, which we know never lasts very long. So we did kind of the H2O, if she wasn't in part 5 and fell off the face of the earth, and then like they tried a weird season of the witch or new beginning thing, like, okay, what's it look like 20 years later when they finally get her back and try to revive the franchise.
The night she came back. Yeah. I really loved the ending of that. I won't spoil anything, but did you have fun with effects on this one in particular?
Oh my god, it was so much fun. Yeah.
What was the most challenging part of this for you?
I think the most challenging effect was the neck twist, because we all just kept confusing ourselves in circles. Okay, like, wait, okay, so her neck's on backwards, so when her hands come up, they should be like this, and then just like, yeah, I don't know, we flip-flopped a couple times and like shot it the wrong direction, and so nothing was too difficult, but that was where we all started to lose our minds a little bit.
Also, I love answers like that, because I'm like, what a fucking weird job you have. Like when you ask somebody else with like a normal job, like what was the like hardest part of your day or the most stressful part of your day? And your answer is like, oh, we couldn't get the neck, like it was like backwards and we didn't. It's like, what? Like amazing. Jed, special edition. Tell us about it.
Hey, Angel. Aaron asked me to do it, and if I had any ideas, and I came to him with an idea about the urban legend of the kid that died on the set of Three Men and a Baby, and he instantly got it. And obviously some references in there to the 90s tech horror such as Ring, etc. There's lots of J horror kind of references in there. But also mainly I just wanted to work with the host girls again. Like this is the first time we're seeing the host girls after host, I think, all together, which is really nice. So I just wanted to have a lighthouse in it too. And I don't know if you're a fan of British 90s horror movies, but there seem to be lots of lighthouses in it. So I wanted to have a lighthouse, and there's a really cool lighthouse in Norfolk. So we filmed there for a little while. And it's just great to work with the host girls again. So just seeing them all together instead of like we are now on a grid system. Yeah.
I love that. I just imagine you with like a to-do list. You're like, all right, fucking Lighthouse, let's work in 3 Men and a Baby and Host Girls.
Yeah.
Check, check, check. And you're like, we got
Pretty
it.
much. Pretty much. Yeah, exactly.
Obviously I'm a huge fan of Host. That's no secret. You know this about me. So like when they like you see that shot and they're all like in frame like this together with their little like Brady Bunch heads, but not in screens, that like screamed. I was like, oh, like that was so exciting.
Yeah, I love that. If that was the whole movie, I'd be happy with that. Just seeing all them together in the same frame just like makes me happy in general. In fact, we kind of in something else that I'm just filming now, we kind of like copied that with the ladies because I love that shot so much. But yeah, they're just like good friends of mine, and I think being filmmakers, if you can work with your friends as much as possible, it just makes it makes it all worth it.
You're gonna do like a Yule log video, but it's just the Host girls are just staring at the screen and just like chatting.
That'd be great. Slowly being set on fire. And everything I do, they get picked off one by one. So that makes sense.
I would love to see them not get picked off someday. Maybe. I don't know. Just what do you have against these girls, man? Just kidding.
I know. Oh.
No, it was really fun. And then also just the absurdity of the 3 Men and a Baby. Like once you realize what they're talking about, it's like,
yeah.
What is this? What is happening? Amazing.
I know it's quite a niche. It's quite a niche urban legend. Some people don't know it, but like if you do know it, then this is like really for you. And because none of the host ladies knew anything about that urban legend. They just took me at that it was gospel, that this was a thing. Like, are you sure that people know about this? And I'm like, yeah, it's a thing. People of a certain age know this particular urban legend. So it's fun getting to explore that.
It'd be fun to take a look at like what the Google search numbers are for that urban legend like now, and then like a week after the movie comes out to see if there's like a spike in like 3 Men and a Baby urban legend searches.
Oh, that's a good chat. And also, we call the monster kid with a sword for arms. We nicknamed him Stabby, and he was designed. So yeah, Stabby. If anyone wants to know, but he was designed by Trevor Henderson as well, the creator of Siren Head and Cartoon Cat. So it's just cool that this thing is out there now. Oh, on the 22nd of December.
Soon. It will be. Very soon.
Yes.
Yeah. Amazing. Rachel, we're so dead. Tell us about it.
Okay, so also by the way, my cat is like up on the balcony looking down at me. It's like a really creepy moment. We're in a new location, so he may meow in the background.
Okay.
But right now he's staring at me from above.
Without blinking ever. Okay.
Without blinking. So Aaron came to me and said, because I came in on board a little bit late in the piece, and he said, hey, I've got this project. We've written a script. I read it and I was like, this is crazy. How am I going to do this? And then I was like, but I'm going to do this because it's just too crazy. So I really so I came on board, read it. I just loved it. I'm a big fan of Stand By Me and also obviously horror. And it was like every opportunity to just like throw in a trope was just so much fun. It was really like a labor of love. And I had, the opportunity to work with 4 really talented young actors who just like, we never met until we got on set because we were in lockdown in Australia. Oh, wow. And it was getting worse and worse. Like the reason I ended up production designing it was because the production designer got locked out of my area, and so did my first AD. It was like we were losing crew members by the day. It was quite funny, but it was a crazy shoot. It was a lot of fun, but I think it's also, I'm just such a big fan of Scare Package as well. I don't know if you know how me and Aaron met, but we met at Sitges and we nearly got arrested. That's a whole nother story.
Well, I can't just like skim over that.
No, I was going to drop it in there. So basically, I landed. I was so jet lagged, and it was my first day in Spain. And I went to the I think it was the second night of screening because I'd missed the first. And I sort of saw these guys off in the corner, videoing, and I was like, who are those guys? And then I realized that the short film that I was there for was screening before Scare Package. And so we started talking, and then we were on stage in like 5 minutes. And then I think we got out. It must have been like 2 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was super, super tired. And the guys offered to give me a lift back to my hotel. And so we're in the car and we got pulled over. And I was like, hang on a second. I've got my seatbelt on. And the guys didn't. And I'm like, oh no, you've been pulled over because of your seat. And sure enough, they proceeded to interrogate and flash the light through the car window. And yeah, it was like, I actually thought, are they going to arrest us, or are they just giving the guys shit? I think they were just giving them shit, to be honest. And so yeah, that became our little story. Is like, oh, we nearly it was probably more exciting than I've just explained it. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning in Australia, so forgive me if I'm a little bit like, woo. I've been up for a little while, so I'm like, but yeah, it was just it was one of those funny sort of like things that happened, and it's kind of been like something that we like to talk about. Cameron's probably better at telling that story than I am.
I still feel bad. I still feel bad though. We were trying to get you back to your hotel
I
in a
know.
timely manner. And then because Jeremy, who was driving, was Rad Chad, Jeremy King.
Oh,
And he
Rad
made
Chad
a-
is you skipped the part where Rad Chad is driving this vehicle.
Yeah, so this
I should
became
not tell this story.
well, and he turned the wrong way on a one-way road too.
That's right.
So then they
Poor
thought
guy.
that we were drunk. You know, it's middle of the night, so we're all getting breathalyzer and all this. And I'm just like, oh no, poor Rachel's in the back seat. We just want to get her home. And now she's stuck with Cameron, myself, and Rad Chad. You know, while these guys are intimidating us. Then they just showed up with like a little car, and they're like, you can write us checks, or you can give us these use your credit cards right now to pay fees, and we'll let you leave. And we're like, fine, please just don't arrest us. So yeah, so that's how we met, and now we're working together.
Well, there you
It
go.
It was like the start of a horror film. I was like, oh no, we're gonna end up in a prison and something's gonna happen. It was so
Yeah,
funny.
like I'm like, it's funny now, but I mean, already getting pulled over is not great, not fun. But like in a country that you have just landed in, and you're like, that's terrifying. I'd be
Yeah.
like, here's all the credit cards, whatever you need, just please let me go.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, so that's how we met. But yeah, no, I sort of, yeah, so that was my story, is sort of how we met. And then yeah, I think there was a post that came online about a project I was doing, and then the next minute I got a message going, hey, we're looking for a director for this thing. And yeah, that's how it all sort of began. And I was so excited. Yeah, it was a real joy to be a part of this. So
Amazing. So you didn't lose you were losing crew members, but you didn't lose the effects person, unless you did these effects yourself as well.
no, we were so lucky. We got makeup effects group, MEG, who these guys have worked on like Island of Dr. Moreau, like Matrix, like everything. Like, and the guy who runs the business actually has one of the biggest collections in Australia of like film memorabilia and like Star Wars memorabilia. Like he's got the original The Thing poster. And I'm not like, it's like $1 million he bought that for. Like it was incredible. So I went to his place, I told him about the project, and he was like, oh my God, can I decapitate a head? And he had all these ideas, and we sat down, and I was like, you realize I don't have like that much money. And he's like, we'll make it work. And it was so cool because like these guys are just as in love with horror as we are, if not almost more so. Like I've like, honestly, I cannot recommend enough. If you come to Sydney, I will organize for you to meet them and see their workshop, because it's incredible. And so yeah, I didn't lose them, thank God. Like they were in my zone, so it was okay.
Nice. I'm glad that worked out. Also, now I have to come. I'm booking a trip right now. It sounds like a museum tour. Like, yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. You'll need at least a few hours.
Also, your segment gave me a perfect idea for my godson's next Halloween costume. He's only going to be like 2 years old, but we'll make it work. It's fine.
What's he going to wear?
I want him to be like the end reveal look that you've got.
Oh yeah, how good was that? I love that. I was talking to the guys and I was like, man, it would be so cool if we could have a tail flicking. And they're like, we have an animatronic tail. We'll just swap out the tail that we've got and put like a fluffy one on. And I was like, no. So yeah, that was pretty wicked. I
Just
loved
When
it.
you
an
sent me
animatronic
that
sailor
photo,
around.
when you sent me that photo of that on set of the kid as feline kid or whatever you want to call him, was amazing. Immediately I was like, I want to make plush dolls of
Yes,
this. And I had like
yes.
ideas. Yeah.
I would 100% buy multiples of those. I'd get one for me and for my nephews. You got to decide on a name though. Is his name Feline Kid? I feel like you got to like settle.
I called him, we were calling him Catboy just because like I think one of the kids called him Catboy and then it kind of stuck. But it was really interesting because we didn't let Luke see his face, because Luke was a little bit he was a little bit scared of blood, but then also scared of like seeing himself differently. And so he's such a trooper. Honestly, you'd never know. Like he would go from being scared to suddenly like it was like action, and he would just like turn into this ultimate professional who's now like worked with Sigourney Weaver and like everybody. Like he's such a legend. Yeah, like honestly, he's like worked with all the stars just recently. Like pretty much he did Scare Package, and then he's gone off to be this like little child star, which is just amazing. But yeah, he was a little bit scared of blood, but he dealt with that, and then it was really funny at the end. He finally looked at himself as the cat, because we had to sort of work him into it after he'd shot the scenes, and then he was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty fucking cool." I shouldn't swear.
Oh, you can swear. I don't know if he was swearing, but you can swear.
It was pretty. He didn't swear, but like he had this kind of like. He had a strut going.
A swagger to it, yeah.
He was in the cat suit as well, so it was kind of funny because it kind of suited what he was doing. He's a funny kid, actually, but yeah.
He was performing as the cat without knowing even what he looks like as the cat. Like,
yeah, it was. He was like, he's a really talented kid. But we did do some work on Zoom prior to meeting. But to be honest with you, they're like, the kids were just pros. Like they had worked with each other before. It was kind of funny because we did a Zoom. We didn't tell them who the other roles were, and then I sort of pressed, connect, and they all came online. And it was so funny because Adelaide's like, I knew it was you, and they're all like, yeah, it's us, and it's like, worked with you last week. And it was kind of cool because it meant that I didn't have to build up that camaraderie. It was already there. So I was like, phew. In the middle of COVID, I was like, how am I going to get these kids to I didn't need to worry about that.
That's pretty cool. It's like very weird, but also cool. Like, I'm like, what a weird, like, this is what we do. We're hanging out. We're like, they're like all like old pros already. And they're like, oh yeah, we work together all the time. Like
the kids are honestly, in Australia especially, are often so much more experienced in their attitudes than the adults. It's actually kind of scary because you're 10. How do you know these terms like, yeah, we've got time. We're rolling in 5 or whatever. It's just they talk like these little mini directors, and you're like, oh my God, how do you know this stuff? But they've grown up on set, so they mimic and they copy really quickly, and they understand how it all works really fast. So it's kind of cool.
They're like, that's showbiz, baby. That's it. Erin, you've got lots of returning cast on this, but you've also got a lot of new exciting cast members. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I mean, you mentioned Kelly Maroney projectile vomiting. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was fun. Once we realized this was going to start at RAD CHAD'S funeral, it was like, who would be at his funeral? And that was like a fun thing to kind of play with. And starting off, I mean, I had already killed Jeremy in the first one, and I have to kill Jeremy King in every movie. That's a rule. So we had his twin brother, who is a chimney sweep from South London. I apologize to Jed. That's so offensive. But with a really bad
accent. I've got a real South London accent.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Similar to mine. It was similar.
It's so bad. His is so bad. But that was fun to play Bo Buckley. And but yeah, and then it was like, who would be there, and what would Rad Chad be like in college? What would his college buddy be? And that's what became Graham Skipper, and what was there. And then, his Rich Sommer, he kind of came on board because he actually messaged me because he loved the first Scare Package. He's like, look, I love this movie. And I was like, wait. Rich Sommer, Mad Men, you love this movie? I'm writing a sequel right now. I will write you a character at this moment. So when he told me that, I was like, I'm writing you in. And he became Rick, and was just such a, I mean, look, there's not a lot of actors that you can ask to get your arm cut off, or vomited off, spoilers, in the first few minutes. And then the whole rest of the movie, you just got to go around with one arm. And so Rich was such a trooper about that, even though it was 100 degrees. And then, Kelly Maroney, we wanted to, who would be Jessie. So we knew Jessie as our final girl was going to be back, played by Zoe Graham, who's just so wonderful, and who will we surround her with. And so we wanted her to have, her partner and then her mother. Why they're necessarily all coming in. They're supporting her for Rad Chad's funeral. It was a traumatic event.
It makes sense.
The way I justify. Yeah. It all works. It's, again, horror logic. We're in sequels here. There's no rules. We can do whatever we want. And so Kelly Maroney, just we're so lucky to have her, and I wanted some kind of a horror icon, to kind of be the mom, and Kelly was so game for everything. And then I struggled for a while to find our Kimmy, and the Kimmy character. When folks have seen the movie, you will realize like how important that character really is to so many things in the plot that are happening. And we auditioned a number of people. We were looking at different stuff. And then actually it was Josh Rubin, who I became pals with through Blood Relatives that we had made. And he suggested Shakira Jade Pay. And she had a show on Comedy Central, their online branch called Obama's Other Daughters. And she was just so funny in that. And I was like, oh my God, she's great. So then we kind of brought her in, and then, sprinkle in different people that we can bring in. Maria Olsen was someone that I knew from Starry Eyes back in the day. And she played the casting director in Starry Eyes and I knew she's such a sweet person, but has this like unique, distinctive, features that and again, so much of this is about subverting expectations, right? So if you think she works at a funeral and she's creepy and all this, but she's actually the sweetest person, that's there. And Maria just brought that in spades. And yeah, so it was just a lot of fun to kind of do that and then mix in, Kirk, who played the goo guy from the first one, coming back, but playing himself. There's a lot of little fun, little throwaway things that we got to have there, which is it's just special. Like making a sequel is ridiculous. I still can't believe we made it to this movie, so and then again, there's no rules in the horror sequel, so anyone could come back and what can happen. And Sam immediately, who played by Byron Brown, immediately kind of became, I was like, well, who's going to be the foil for this? Who is the person? And he just never was written to be too sinister in the first movie, but the way he showed up was so creepy in the background all the time. And I was like, well, this is someone who's going to misunderstand horror. He's going to be mad when somebody says, like I get a little indignation when somebody says elevated horror. And I'm like, there's no elevated comedy, or whatever. But he would take it to an extreme, and what that would mean. And it's fun, and he warned you, in the first movie, he said, I'm here and I'll always be here. So, he continues to have that happen in the second one.
And he warned you. It's like, I told you what I was going to do. I let you know.
It's out there.
Amazing. I love just the ridiculousness of it. And I love that it was like given the permission to just like, the first one's already ridiculous. We've got a goo man, and then we just like push it even further because it's a sequel, and that's what you do, baby. You make it more ridiculous.
Yeah. You just lean into it in every way. Because again, the logic of horror sequels, and I mean, you can cut off Michael Myers' head in H2O, and then it's not him; it was the ambulance driver. And it's like, what? So you have this freedom to kind of do what you want, and I think that freedom just allowed us to go more and more absurd, more meta. Lean into all those tropes in an entirely different way. And then, and obviously this group here caught that. They understood that so well. And in each of the segments were, it's tough because as Cameron and I, my co-writer, we're like overseeing this, we're trying to make sure there's all these funny jokes. And every now and then there'll be a joke. I'm like, we already got that joke in this one, so we got to do this or that kind of thing, because we're all kind of treading in the same water. But it became fun, and I'm super proud of just to work with this group and what we were able to do.
I love that. They understood the assignment 100%.
Yeah, they nailed it. Yeah.
Real quick, can you guys if I could say words, that would be fantastic. Let's back that up. If you guys could all tell me your favorite horror sequels.
Wow.
No,
I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. I guess, and 4. I like Rennie Harlin's 4 as well, because that's when it starts to get interesting and fun. I know some people don't like 4 because they think it's kind of derivative, but I like it when horror's fun, and that there isn't enough fun horror out there besides the Scare Package franchise. So yeah, more fun horror. That's what I'm into.
I love that. The bonkers shit. That's what I'm here for. Yeah.
I like Aliens. I'm such a I was wondering who else.
Alex said, damn it.
We all love it. Let's just take a pause because it's amazing. No, it's like sci-fi and horror is it's like my heaven. It's I'm sure everybody feels. I mean, look, I love all the genre, the subgenres, but sci-fi and horror
is your jam. All right.
It's my jam.
I was gonna say Aliens, but then you kind of segued into sci-fi-ish. So I'm just gonna go with, it's just not really a horror movie, so I'm cheating, but Terminator 2. It's a great sequel.
Yes.
All right.
It's sci-fi and there's blood.
And it's a sequel to a horror film.
And it's a C, so
that works.
Terminator's a horror film.
That checks. Anthony, what's your favorite horror sequel?
I mean, also Aliens, and just anything that just goes way left field of what you think it would do, because so many horror sequels play it so safe, and those can also work out and be super fun. But like, I'm an apologist for things like Book of Shadows, Freddy's Revenge. Like, I love, and Aliens falls into that too, because it doesn't try to recreate what the first one does. It's like, no, we did a single Alien, we did it as a horror movie, let's have a million of them and just like make it a balls out action movie. I love that so much. And talking of Saw, one of my favorite, I love all the Saw movies because they're so absurd, but one of my favorites is 6, because it's him getting revenge from the grave against a guy that like denied him health coverage because he like had cancer or something. And it's like a really good one, but I'm like, my God, this plot is incredible.
Anthony, are you flying the flag for Blair Witch 2? Am I getting that right?
Oh yeah, I love.
Oh, okay, we need to talk. Okay.
Jed has
Interesting.
entered the chat. All right.
Wow.
Aaron, what's your favorite, number one favorite horror sequel?
Well, I love what Anthony said, because that's the reason why Scare Package 2 is so different. We're not just putting tapes in again and again because we're like, that's the easy answer. And that would have been fun. I think people expected that. So we wanted to go a different direction. But look, I mean, the ones that we reference in the movies, in the movie, I think probably, definitely Dream Warriors. There's a lot of Dream Warriors references in there. Hellbound. I love Hellbound. I actually saw Hellbound before I saw the first Hellraiser. So that had a big influence on me very clearly. And then I love Friday the 13th Part 2. I love Ginny. Ginny's one of my favorite Final Girls that Alex, wonderfully parodied in her segment as well. And then we've got the opening, of her on the, with the dreams. That's like, no, for 5 minutes, just showing the first movie, which in Friday the 13th Part 2, it goes much longer than we do. We do like 45 seconds. We do it for like 4 minutes. So yeah, I think those are probably the key ones. Yeah.
I love it. All solid answers. No Scream answers in there, but that's okay. I'll forgive you guys that. Jed, I saw that face.
Scream 4.
Scream 3.
All right. See, all right, there we go. Now we're talking. No. All right, you guys, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. Thank you for making bonkers shit, because that's my absolute favorite kind of horror to watch. Scare Package 2 hit Shudder December 22nd. Easy to remember because 2 on 22. Yeah. All right.
Nice.
All right. Thanks so much. And congratulations. I'm excited for everyone to take this into their eyeballs.